the Jesus way.
Oh, the Jesus way
Is the way of peace.
is the way of peace.
Oh, the Jesus way.
Oh, the Jesus way
Is the way of peace.
is the way of peace.
Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. When he is king, all wars will cease. May his peace begin with me. Gonna beat my sword
Gonna beat my sword
into a plow.
into a plow.
Gonna beat my sword
Gonna beat my sword
into a plow.
into a plow.
Gonna beat my sword into a plow. Christ is king in my life now. May his peace begin with me. Oh, the Jesus
Brethren
way.
Voices began 14 years ago to tell the stories of modern-day brethren who live their faith in action and deed. Brethren cannot be placed in a box. They're all different from one another. But one thing is certain, they attempt to love each other despite their differences and to live as an example of Jesus. They value faith in Jesus, love of neighbor, service, compassion, community, Christian witness, the authority of the Bible, and peace. Hello, I'm Brent Carlson. Welcome to Brethren Voices. The Church of the Brethren traces its roots back to 1708 in Germany, 311 years ago. 18th-century Europe was a time of strong governmental control of the church and low tolerance for religious diversity. Nevertheless, there were religious dissenters who lived their faith in spite of the threat of persecution. Among them was Alexander Mack. He operated a mill for grinding grain. He had been influenced both by Pietism and Anabaptism. In August of 1708, 5 men and 3 women gathered at the Eder River in Schwarzenau, Germany, for baptism, which was an illegal act since all of them had been baptized as infants. They understood that this baptism was an outward symbol of their new faith and as a commitment to living that faith in the community. So who are some of the modern-day brethren? One of them, Andy Murray, wrote a song that describes brethren, and especially those who assist others during the many disasters that are a part of living on this planet we call Earth.
You can look up, you can look down, you can go all over this old town, but you'll never find the Christmas King until you've got a mind to do one thing, just reach out and touch somebody's hand, look into somebody's eye. The King is walking through the land, and it should come as no surprise that she's working with your sister's hands, and she's seeing with your sister's eyes. If you're waiting for the King to come, your sister's the one.
Brethren are in support of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival that demands our nation take a higher ground to support the poor. Dr. Martin Luther King saw that poverty was not just another issue, and that poor people were not a special interest group. Through Dr. King's many speeches in the last year of his life, he described the unjust economic conditions facing millions of people worldwide.
Our clarion caller, our clarion crier of injustice, Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King, made it clear that where there was injustice anywhere, it prevailed as a threat to justice everywhere. He is still calling attention to racism, especially where it concerns environmental, as we see that in our inner cities all over the United States, there is a street called Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard right in the middle of the Red Line District. Can somebody hear me?
Dr. King saw that poverty was just not another issue, and the poor people were not just another special interest group. Throughout his many speeches in the last year of his life, he described the unjust economic conditions facing millions of people worldwide. He held up the potential of the poor to come together to transform the whole society. He knew that for the load of poverty to be lifted, the thinking and behavior of a critical mass of the American people would have to be changed. To accomplish this change of consciousness, a new and unsettling force had to be formed. Basically, the poor would have to organize to take actions together around their basic needs.
I'm employed and I'm forced to live in my car here in Gresham. I moved my family to Oregon from Compton, California in 1999. Back then, things were affordable here, and I wanted to make my life here different. As I always made a 5-year plan, so much has changed within that time. I found work with a transportation company. Things were good. I returned back to Cali because my brother had passed away. About the time that I returned back, wanting to pick up my life and reestablish myself again, I found that my employer were taken over by another firm. So I found another job in the transportation company. I noticed rent began increasing, so I kept looking for a better job. I got a job with the medical transportation with the state. Things got a little bumpy with that job and with the job that I worked at and my apartment complex when I moved to Happy Valley. While the issues with work got taken care of, the hostility at my house were just too much, and I eventually found myself homeless in 2016. I kept going and reestablished myself and found housing again in 2017. As I kept working, however, things got tough again, and I lost my job and housing just this year in January. I continue to work, and I could pay my way, but housing is just too expensive for me. Everybody got the right to live, and for me, that means the right to affordable and safe housing and living job wages.
The Church of the Brethren has been deeply, deeply concerned by the violence in our society. In 1999, the annual conference of the Church of the Brethren recommitted to its heritage of nonviolence as modeled by the life and the teachings of Jesus. Following the shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School, student-led demonstrations were held in over 800 locations around the United States. John Jones interviews some of those participants.
Now you guys have grown up in a world where a lot of people have guns and
Yes.
some bad things happen. What are you hoping for in your lifetime in the way of things to change? What would you like to see?
I would like to see gun laws passed. I'd like to see background checks happen. I'd like to see our president not being dumb, and we should have rights. We're going to school to learn. We're not going to school to be shot up and killed.
Do you think it's too easy sometimes for people to get guns?
Yeah, they need to do background checks, because someone that might be mentally ill could go in and buy a gun, and then what happened in a lot of the gun cases with schools, that's happened because someone who's mentally ill has gone into a gun store and they've bought guns, and then our president is also funding the NRA, so I think that's bad too.
What What would you like to see in the world that you think would be a better world?
I would like to see less people robbing banks and less people shooting.
Uh-huh. What would you hope for in terms of gun violence and all, that things could be better?
I hope people stop killing other people.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I assume you're dad and son?
Yeah.
Great, thanks for coming out today. May I ask your names and ask where you're from?
I am Dylan, and I'm from Kalama, which is Kalama, Washington. And
My name is Avi, the same place.
Great. Yes. Great. What brings you guys out today? I assume you made the sign yourself.
yes,
And why are you here today to this March for Life rally?
we're here. Well, at least I'm here. I'm not sure why my dad's here. I'm here because I was motivated because of those students that died. I was watching the news and I saw that on the news, and so that really is what motivated me to come here.
Against gun?
You're standing with the kids who lost their lives and other kids that are standing up for sensible gun control. You're
Yes.
standing with them. Thank you. And I may ask your dad that question. Why did you come out today?
I came here to support my son, to support his future, make sure we won't have guns in school. We don't need them. And it's ridiculous that we have been waiting for so long to do something about it.
What kinds of common sense changes do you think are possible, and certainly ones that you yourself might like to see?
Well, I'm from Australia, and in Australia we had a big incident a few years back where a shooter took lives of 29 people, and a month later we decided to confiscate all the guns and eradicate the problem. So I think that's as simple as that. We don't need guns. I mean, I understand if you live in the wilderness, it's fine, but at schools, we don't need that. We don't need it in this life we're living in cities where we don't need guns, really. That's what I think.
Thank you. And may I ask you, what will you say to your friends at school, people your own age, about what you think they can do to change things for the better?
I would say we'll make a couple signs, join a couple marches, and just kind of get involved that way.
I understand you are with Physicians for Social Responsibility,
I am.
Portland chapter,
That's correct. It's the Oregon chapter.
the Oregon chapter of
Yeah.
Physicians for Social Responsibility. Could you tell us why you joined the rally today for the March for Life?
Well, I think it's deplorable how many assault weapons we have in this country. They're designed for the military use, and they're in civilian society, and they're killing our children. And there is no reason to have these sort of weapons in civilian society at all.
And today, what are some of the hopeful feelings you have seeing a crowd of people here who are coming out with great concern? What are some of the hopes that you have?
Well, I'm one of these old activists that go back to the Vietnam War, and I'm seeing a lot of kids. I'm seeing a lot of young people out here. There's a wonderful turnout of youth of all ages, and that's a very hopeful sign. This is not just the old activists. This is a movement. This is a trend that is really trending right now, and I think it speaks positively for getting rid of assault weapons. These weapons not only fire multiple bullets over a short period of time, but they do just tear through tissue. So bones and vessels and organs are destroyed by one or two of these bullets. And that's very different than a hunting rifle, which has a small entrance and a relatively small exit wound. These have huge exit wounds, and people don't survive. There is no reason for them at all other than to kill masses of people in warfare. And they ought to be eliminated. They ought to be banned. I think the government ought to be buying them back from people. And and basically over the course of time, we would eventually get rid of these assault weapons like the AR-15.
We are fortunate that some brethren put their thoughts into music. We have featured Steve Kinsey on Brethren Voices in the past, and we will be presenting his music once more in an upcoming program. Recently, Steve and his son Seth Kinsey performed at the 2019 Song and Story Fest held at Camp Myrtlewood near Bridge, Oregon. What a delight.
Having no gift of strategy or arms, no secret weapon and no walled defense, I shall become a citizen of love. That little nation with the blood-stained sod, where even the slain have power, the only country that sends forth an ambassador to God. Renouncing self and crying out to evil to end its wars. I seek a land that lies all unprotected like a sleeping child. Nor is my journey reckless and unwise, who doubts that love has an effective weapon, may meet with a surprise. Having no gift of strategy or arms, no secret weapon and no bold defense, I shall become a citizen of love. I shall become a citizen of love.
While at the Church of the Brethren annual conference in 2018 in Cincinnati, Ohio, we were able to meet with Mark Charles, a Native American from the Navajo Nation, who discussed the complexities of American history regarding race, culture, and faith, in order to help forge a path of healing and reconciliation for the nation. Mark Charles shares about being Navajo, which he learned about while being on and living on the reservation in Arizona. He discussed the history that few Americans wanted to hear about.
I said, being Native American and living on the reservation, it feels like our Native peoples are this old grandmother who has a very large and very beautiful house. And years ago, some people came into our house and they locked us upstairs in the bedroom. Today, our house is full of people. They're sitting on our furniture, they're eating our food, they're having a party inside our house. Now, they've since come upstairs and they've unlocked the door to our bedroom, but it's much later. We're tired, we're old, we're weak, and we're sick, so we can't or we don't come out. But the thing that hurts us the most, the thing that causes us the most pain, is that virtually nobody from this party ever comes upstairs, seeks out the grandmother in the bedroom, sits down next to her on the bed, takes her hand, and simply says, "Thank you. Thank you for letting us be in your house." I wrote that. Immediately I knew that's exactly how I feel.
In a very creative way, Camp Myrtlewood of the Pacific Northwest District of the Church of the Brethren, together with Wild Rivers Land Trust, have taken steps to help save creation in their area. We met with John Jones and with Ann Schmier, Executive Director of Wild Rivers Land Trust, to discuss the importance of preserving land for future generations. We found out that it is one of the important things that can be done, as John Jones says, to turn the table on climate change.
And officially, in September of 2015, we filed that conservation easement with Coos County in the state of Oregon, and all of these large trees and everything in between in size, and all the plants and the stream and everything are part of that conservation easement, and will better assure for future generations that this will be a place of spiritual nurture for a long, long time to come, that carbon will continue to be sequestered here for perpetuity. And that's a big word, perpetuity. It's a little bit scary, but you know, when we talk about Camp Myrtlewood, this idea of 420-year-old old-growth forest, that's a natural forest, that is a dream. But you can't dream without having some kind of results. And God doesn't call us to be successful, but God calls us to be faithful. So I'm saying to people, if you want to see if we end up being successful on our dream, come back in 300 years and take a look, see if we made it. And the cool thing is that we are sandwiched in between two United States government Bureau of Land Management parcels. One's 40 acres, one's 240 acres, and with our 190 acres, that makes up almost 500 acres of contiguous forest, which is very, very important to marbled murrelet, spotted owls, and all kinds of other species, including human population. And when we're looking at a major world concern like global climate change, Camp Myrtlewood might seem like a drop in the bucket, but we sequester something like 20,000 tons of carbon every year, and every time these trees continue to grow, they're putting on more carbon. So it may be a drop in the bucket, but there's drops in the bucket all over. And look at all these drops we have coming down out of the sky right now. A lot of drops. And when you start talking about people doing responsible stewardship all around the world, pretty soon you got the bucket pretty full.
Going back a couple of years, we had the opportunity to meet with a rare resident of the Lebanon Valley Brethren Home in Palmyra, Pennsylvania, just east of the home of Hershey Chocolate. This resident was a bit shy, and we were about to cancel our visit and head home. Well, anyway, here's the rest of the story. There it is! Bingo! The elusive white squirrel. Wow, it's real, and it's really white. Since then, we've learned a few more things about white squirrels that we want to share with you. Actually, Rob Nelson, an ecologist from the University of Hawaii, shares the information on his website, untamedscience.com/biodiversity/white squirrel. White squirrels are almost always a white version of the eastern gray squirrel. And there are a few types of genetic aberrations that cause the white fur coats. The first is albinism or albinoism, which is caused by a mutation of a gene that codes for pigmentation or the lack of it. Such albinos have white eyes. The other is a white morph caused by a different gene. It is a natural occurring trait of eastern gray squirrels that is very, very rare. And Rob Nelson from Hawaii is doing a study to determine exactly how rare it is. For some reason, eastern gray squirrels in the United States have this gene that makes their coats white. We are now in our 15th year of Brethren Voices, sharing some of the stories of the Brethren and what they do as a matter of faith. What can we say? We're all together on this journey called life, and we're all together here on this planet we call Earth. It's our home, and we need to take care of it in a sustainable way and a responsible way for the next generation, which, as we speak, is taking up residency. We're all in this together. It's an amazingly beautiful place, and we need to get along and work together to keep it that way. This is Brent Carlson, wishing you peace.
All those who tread the path he trod, all those who tread the path he trod, all those who tread the path he trod shall be called the friends of God. May his peace begin with me.